So now you've got a place to attach your carbon fiber booms, your wood dowel. This could be an aluminum piece here. This is on the a little bit on the oversized. This is 1 inch. It's a little oversized, but it's super light. This is aluminum shower rod, continuous 6-foot long sections, $10, Home Depot. Has the little screw ends that go wall to wall, right? And you just cut it to length for your shower installation. So it's a 6-foot length, and it is seamed aluminum, super thin wall, very light. Love it. Good stuff. A little off scale for me. This scale, or a carbon fiber tube like this, is more appropriate scale befitting a big wing like that. Now if you wanted to do a boom, a tail section boom, like in an Easy Start configuration, you could attach any flying surfaces. You can attach any flying surfaces you figure you want to come up with. You can do the foam board, and I like to reinforce the leading edges and things like that. Make sure that anytime you use a foam board that you've got to cover it with tape to prevent moisture, because it does warp. Now in this case I put made this a tail dragger. So imagine an Easy Star style pusher prop, tail dragger, fuselage attachment at this end. Great place to run all your wires inside. In fact, the wires came out this hole right here and went up into the fuselage. Stand by. Okay. Here's a design I did some time ago. Tail section, boom, inside of a tube. Kind of heavy, a little bit heavy. This boom is really too long for this, but this is a design that I had played around with. Tube is a sleeve. There's your battery tray and all your attachment points. There's that same cheap plywood in the handy panel that runs inside there. Creates that attachment. In fact, this piece of plywood is the same piece as this. It's continuous. It's one piece. I just cut it square there. That's the leading edge of. Take a piece of foam on both sides of it, shape it down to give it an aerodynamical and structural support. And then the top plate here is for a flat bottom wing, and the screws run down through the top plate, top of the wing, down into these T-nuts, which are attached here. Pretty decent. This started getting kind of heavy for me, and I stopped for a couple of reasons. And again, this plywood, when you put water to it or moisture to it, it tends to want to warp a little bit, and that's exactly what happened. This tower or fuse section here twisted, so it's got a little bit of a twist to it that will make your wing off camber or off a little bit, but you can twist it and change the the anchor points if they haven't been already established, and they were. You can change that. So anyway, the point here is aluminum. It's very lightweight and nice material to work with. It's easy to cut on a standard table saw or a chop saw. That would be a carbon tipped blade. Steel blades work okay, high-speed steel, but they don't last very long cutting metals. But carbon tipped do. and finer. The finer it is, the better. Okay, so that was hard points, making attachments to the wing. Camera mounts, all kinds of different things you could attach with. And a camera mount is I think it's a 5/16 20 thread. Look at the bottom of any one of your cameras, and the threaded hole there on the bottom of the camera is, you could put a screw through, put the screw through the plate, use a jam nut on top, and then a loose nut to jam to the bottom of the camera when mounted. So you could mount a camera on a wing via its standard camera mount, which is a pretty heavy duty attachment point. I don't have a nut here. Actually, I do. This actually might be 1/4 20, something like that. Hopefully you can see that. So you could run that through the plate. You spin your camera on top of this, and then you run a jam nut. In this case, this is from like a molly bolt. I took it apart. These are parts inside of a butterfly bolt, and you know, there's a spring involved, and there's the hinging, pivoting thing. Well, these little nuts turned out to be great for a jam nut, like a wing nut, and you can tighten it up to the bottom of the camera body. Anyway, so I do that on my hat cam. So I drilled a hole up through the bill of my hat, up close to my forehead, right around the headband, and I used one of these jammed down on top of the bill, and I had another one on top that jams up to the top of the camera, so I can mount it on my hat. Anyway, so there's some thoughts there about how to attach to the wing form. This is your typical shipping tube. This is the lightweight version, like at your mailbox, etc., or a UPS store. In fact, it was a UPS store that I bought this from. It's like a 4-foot section. I think it's 4 foot. Yeah, 4 foot long, is like $5, and it's pretty durable and doesn't really take much. And wood glue works really well with it to reinforce it to bulkheads, or you know, use a hole saw and drill a hole in a piece of plywood, or drill out a hole, or a plug rather, and then insert it into the inside here, and that makes your attachment points for your like over there on the aluminum boom piece right there. That's a hole saw plug. Typical hole saw, you can get 2-inch, 2.5 inch, and so on, different sizes. It can be a little expensive, but if, like me, I've got these tools, I've been using them for a while, so it's around. And so I just do a plug, sand it down to fit, insert it inside, put in 2 of them, one at the front end, one at the back end, put rails in between, and then that aluminum boom will slide right into that hole, and you can use a screw to set it. Or if it's friction tight, you don't need to; it won't rotate. Anyway, so there's a lot of different things going on. So, gosh, a whole ton of information, huh? Probably too much. I could go on and on and on. Let's see. What else is there? Oh, here's another good one. Go to Walmart or Target in their sports section. Look at the golf clubs. You will find tapered golf clubs, like a big driver. A driver, some of them will be carbon fiber. Most of them are at least composite. Now you have a wicked tail boom. Stiffer the better. If you can find stiff shaft, that's perfect. This one's been painted black. Inserts into a block. I make a block house to capture the end of that shaft. And where the handle is, it's straight. The shaft is straight and not tapered. So that makes fitting into these spaces okay. And if not, you can shim around the outside of it to fine tune it. Pre-drill a very large, almost exactly the same size as the threads on the screw. So my point is, so that you don't fracture this fiberglass or carbon fiber, pre-drill the hole to almost the same size as the screw that you're going to put in it, so you don't split, fracture, stress. This is another tubular design I was working on. This one actually flew and did pretty well. I was being a little creative with the shapes. This back section is fixed. This is a skid, hand launch bird. I like putting skids on just about everything, even all these hand launch birds, these foam birds that you buy. You can insert a plywood skid right into it. Just run a cut right down through the center of the bottom and glue that skid right in there, and that'll protect the bottom of your bird. And it doesn't have to be all that much. It can be shorter. This is obviously pretty deep. Where I was flying and my landing zone is dirt clods, plowed field. So I wanted this depth. It also acts as a rail, as a rudder, if you will. But if there's side winds, that's more surface area to grab and push your aircraft into the wind or with the wind. Speed controller was here. Servos, our receiver box here. I had a gyro here. This slides off. The skid comes with the front section. Camera mount here. Tie down points and things for batteries. Battery cargo. You can slide your batteries in and out of there for CG perfection. Motor mount in the front. So this is a tractor style. Tractor meaning the motor is in the front pulling. And that, I don't know why tractor stuck, but that's kind of an old term. But this is tractor style in front of the wing, right? Still got room for pan tilt assembly. Can be on top here, in front of the prop, so you don't have prop in your view. I like to lay my bloggy, the Sony, right in here, looking forward or down, and I put a servo on the bloggy to tilt the camera lens down. But I like this design. The tail section is made from foam board, reinforcing the leading edges. 1/4 inch poplar that I shaped down. Tape hinges. A lot of rudder surface there. Good for crabbing. The attachment on this one was not done as well as it should have been. I simply hot glued. That was a bad choice because the paper has separated. The glue is good, but the paper is separated and is so with torsional energy on this when you're flying. It came loose of the paper, so I'll have to redo this section. Servos are kind of in a chunky sort of non-aerodynamic way there. You could actually attach your servos way up here and do push rod in a sleeve, and get the weight off the tail even more if you wanted to. Do an attachment point here, still on the boom, making this a separate piece. So for breakdown, for transport, just unscrew one screw. The wing comes off, then you can get to this top screw. You can put your attachment screw underneath as well, or on the side even rather. But the point is that this tail boom section with a couple of servo connectors, you take it off and it's ready for transport. Breaks down pretty nice. You could even make the horizontal section separate, but you need to make a hard point out there on the boom. So the whole point of all this is inexpensive, tapered carbon fiber or composite booms. This could be used for a twin boom, or it can use as is like this in a single boom and they're cheap. So golf clubs, I mean, like 20-30 bucks. Where can you buy a tapered carbon fiber from a supply house for 20-30 bucks and go get it right now? Nowhere. So there you go. Another concept idea. This one flew for a bit. I had another a KFM airfoil that I built, foam and what do you call it? Plywood spar wing that still had too much flex in it. I didn't reinforce it enough, and it was a big wing, 72 inch, kind of a big wing. So there you go. More ideas. Works good. I like the shipping tubes. What I would do though is when I get to where one of these is just right and the way I like it, then I would use my polyacrylic. Let me show you. Here it is. Minwax polyacrylic, water base, clear satin. So this replaces your resin, epoxy resin finish. So much easier to work with. Water base. This dries up in like 30 minutes, especially in a day like this, sunny, warm, 70 degrees plus. This stuff dries up really quick. Keep it stirred up well. There's a lot of pigment in there that helps for body to build up. And so you could lay on a layer of this, and then lay on your fiberglass on top of that, and do another layer on top of that, and let that set, and then come back to it, do a light sand, and just keep layering if you want. If you want a real nice shiny tube, then there you go. But again, anything that you deal with that has paper should be covered to prevent moisture from warping it and jumping in with your woods and your cardboards and your construction paper as well. Here's a view from the aft view, looking down the center there. And so that's essentially your battery tray with near infinite amount of adjustment, assuming you've built this based upon an approximated CG. If you know the CG of your wing, which is typically 1/3, then you can build this and then trim. Put your batteries in the middle section of whatever you're doing. Put your battery all up weight and your motor on roughly, and the thing that you're going to trim then is the boom or the length of the nose tube. That puts your counterbalance, your counterweight. So in this case, I made this frame, this internal frame, I made it really long, anticipating not knowing where the CG is going to be best located, based upon, you know, this boom being 33 inches or whatever it is distance from the further away it is, the more stable your aircraft's going to be. The closer it is, the more pitch, not so much yaw, but some yaw. Tracking is an issue. So the closer that tail section is to the wing, the taller that tail needs to be, more surface area to help track. But the pitch becomes pitchier or more sensitive the closer this tail section is to the back of the wing. Just basic aerodynamic function. That's why wings, flying wings, are quite pitchy, and they have to be shaped in a delta in order to remove all that pitchiness. Because if you just had a plank wing and you tried to fly it as a wing, hardly any way that was going to work, because it just wants to rotate on its axes. So anyway, carbon shafts. You can go to a secondhand store, yeah, any secondhand store, and you're going to find a corner in there that has a pile of golf clubs. You may find a carbon fiber shaft there in a secondhand store. Great ideas there. Perfect. And then some people are actually using these carbon fibers as a mold, a form, which would be an inside or a negative. No, it's not a negative. It's a positive form. So because it's tapered, you can slip the form out of the inside of the fiberglass shell that you make around it. And what's his name? David also has, maybe not up anymore, but David at rcexplorerse.se has a tutorial on how he made his carbon fiber reinforced fiberglass booms, and he essentially just wrapped it around this as a form, and then once hardened, you just pop that form out of there, and now you have this real lightweight shell that's carbon reinforced wherever you put your carbon. So you got to buy materials a little bit more involved. Golf club shafts, cheap and easy. Blanks are expensive. If you go to like so-and-so's golf pro shop and you want to buy a blank, or you buy them offline, they're going to be quite a bit more, actually. I haven't looked into that aspect of it, but someone else was telling me, says, yeah, they're not cheap, da da da. It's better to buy a cheapy golf club from Walmart or Kmart. Target, I don't think Target, maybe Target has it, I don't know. Probably Walmart and Kmart still has that in their sports section. Anyway, enough about that. I could go on and on. So, I think that's about it for now. I'm going to call it good. Think about something else. I'll get back to it. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully have this section edited out and be useful for you and get rid of some of the junk. Okay? Alright, so West out.